Hey everyone, it's me, Baby Ricky, better known as Panda Rick. There are a couple of things I want to get off my mind today. I want to talk about the debate. First of all, we all know presidents or presidents becoming presidents do not bring family members into a debate. You don't talk about a family member. And that's kind of like what was going on in that debate. And then presidents a president is, if he's a true president, he's not going to sit there and make himself look bad and then try to make the country look bad. In other words, they were both arguing about, you know, things they shouldn't have been arguing about. Politically, it wasn't about, their families or their personal. When a president is becoming a president, you don't, how do you say, you don't want to make the US look bad, because in that terms you're saying to other countries, you know, they can't even control their own president, and their own president can't even control himself. So it kind of makes it feel kind of awkward. I'm a born Democrat, but Trump has done a lot of things and started a lot of things, and I want to see him finish them before, his term is up. So I'm kind of going for Trump, but that's because I don't like the way Harris is trying to do things. First of all, you don't defund your police, because if you do defund your police, you're taking away from all the other police officers due to the action of just a few. And then when you defund that taxpayer money that goes into the police, where does it go? People start asking questions. People want to know, why aren't the police doing their job? Well, the police aren't doing their job because you were out there rioting. You were out there tearing down buildings. You were burning buildings. You were causing a lot of harm. A lot of injuries were done. And, people tend to riot for the wrong reasons. In the, what did you say, the George Floyd case, you have to look into it well enough before you before you can accuse someone of something that wasn't their fault. I don't see any wrong in that. I mean, I do see a little wrong in, keeping your knee on someone too long. But the way the guy died wasn't because of the officer. It was because of what he ingested. Now, and because of that, a lot of people did a lot of things wrong. He was already a criminal. They tried to praise him, to make it seem like, that he was perfect. He wasn't perfect. He did a lot of things wrong. There are a lot of cases like that. I mean, just because one officer or a few officers do wrong doesn't mean you have to punish all the other officers, because they're the ones protecting us. And in a debate, when a president who is the president begins to, what I call, more or less dog another elected soon to be president, which I don't know yet, but the way it seems like it's going, probably will. You don't degrade anyone. A debate is on the economy, the people in the economy, how to uprise, make it better, what your plans are for your next terms are being the president. So you don't want to sit there and let people see the dumbfoundedness inside you when you start saying things that are immoral, not even right, literate, just illiterate, just talk. And that's what the both of these have done, Biden and Trump. You don't sit there and degrade each other. You want to show your country that, hey, this is what I plan on doing. I plan on fixing, state by state, the way the streets are, the way the lighting is, adding more parks and more boys and girls clubs, more activity for people, better jobs, better hiring, better wages, better health care, to make to make the people of the U.S. more comfortable with you. You want to talk about all the right things, not all the wrong things. Because if you begin to talk about all the wrong things, all you're doing is confusing the U.S. and making them see, okay, why would he say that? Why would he do this? Where is any of that fit into, the Americans? And a president is supposed to sit there and say, the healthcare thing. If I promised it to you in the beginning and it hasn't happened, I'm doing my best to make it better. Helping state by state. If it seems like a state is falling in the U.S., a president's going to jump and make it better. And the people want someone that is basically going to say, hey, I'm not going to let another country come in and destroy us. I'm not going to let another country come in and take. It's bad enough that we have to deal with racism. But the racism thing has gotten a little out of hand, way a little out of hand. For the simple fact is all this slavery thing. There's no slavery in the U.S. This is something that the ancestors have done way way before. So that needs to stop. The blame game just isn't cutting it anymore. What I'm seeing now, every time I turn on the TV or every time I turn around and hear something, is that we were slaves. You were never slaves. And what happened in the past isn't happening now. So you ask for change, don't bring it forward with you, because you were never in that position. Slavery came from, and it's not from the white people. So they need to get that out of their mind. Slavery came from Africa. Africa sold their own people for just little things. And, when they did that, the Europeans took it and said, hey, fine, this is who we have, doing our biddings. But it was never in the U.S. that way. It was brought this way. And a lot of people, defacing the statues, taking things down from history that they should have never touched. Because it is our way of looking at it and saying, hey, that happened then, it's not happening now. So you want a president that's going to stand with you, not against you. One that's going to make it better for you, not hard on you. You want someone that's going to say, let's do this. If this state and this economy and that state is falling, let's make it a lot easier and help. Not sit there and say we're going to take away and, we're going to do all this and that. Now, another thing, on the border wall, There's nothing wrong with that. You know, you know, because you don't want other countries sneaking in from behind us. Because Mexico is an open country, and anyone can come into Mexico and try to work their way into the U.S. So I don't see any fault in the wall. But what I do see fault in is you don't detain people in cages. You don't detain children in cages. You don't take away children from their families and put them in cages. That's something we don't do. The American people know what is right, and the American people know what is wrong. But just because something happens to one person doesn't mean you have to go and destroy a whole city or a whole state. You want you want to do it right, and you don't want to go in and take away from the community, because if you do that, this is what the outcome is. What they did in that state when they burned the buildings, when they rioted, when they tore everything up, they took away from their families, their nieces, their daughters, their grandparents, their mothers, their fathers, all those people that had jobs in those buildings to make money to live and survive off of was taken from them. For the simple fact of what? Because they wanted to riot over a man that they shouldn't have rioted the way they did. If they wanted to protest, they should have done it in a simpler way, because it would have been heard in a simpler way. Because we're Americans. When we speak out, we are heard. But when you begin to tear down society and you begin to make society look bad to other countries, it's not something that, a lot of Americans will tolerate. You know, and when you have all this Black Lives Matter, going on and on and on and on, it's putting into the minds of all other people that no one else can matter unless they matter. Well, they're here, they matter. So I don't understand the outcry. You know what it was. The reason all that was is so that they could take, after they broke into these buildings, burn them down, got what they wanted. What I saw a lot of is a lot of black people hurting a lot of white people. And the white people stood up and defended themselves. I mean, you have to understand, when you turn on the television and you see that in plain view, a young lady who is white being beaten by 3 or 4 black guys just because she's walking through, it isn't right. And a lot of that, a lot of it is what I call an injustice in the way that society has pulled itself. In other words, American black people will sit there and say, okay, well, hey, they did this to this person, so let's go out there and do this. And then when they do that, it causes a conflict between a lot of people, because they're out there pulling in people that they shouldn't have ever pulled in the first place. A lot of people are getting hurt because of this. And I'm not racist, so don't take me wrong. But I don't like it when, you're of a different color and you sit there and you want to cry wolf. Oh, you commit the crime, and then when you get caught, you turn around and play wolf. Oh, I can't. I'm depressed. I'm oppressed. Either, we were slaves. You were never slaves. Or, it was the white person that did it. Or they tried to turn around and blame a Hispanic or an Asian person. I don't get it. But it works on both sides. Don't get me wrong. It works on both sides. But mainly on the African side. I see a lot of that hate going on. And they say they want change. The only way change is going to come is if they stop and they become more moral about the things in life. A lot of them will be out there and they'll take if they can't have it. And it happens in every race, but I've noticed a lot in that race. And as a president, you're supposed to make it better and easier on the economy, but not giving too much slack, but being there for those that truly need it. And those that are wronged by it, that's their consequences they have to face. So all in all, when you see a president and another person running for president arguing about their most intimate things that they have in their own lives coming out, it doesn't look right. Because the debate is not about talking about someone's family. That's not what you do. The debate is 1, the people. 2, each state. 3, protecting. 4, not letting anyone fall short. And through these debates, I haven't heard neither a president or soon to be president, which I don't know, discuss these things. First of all, COVID. COVID could have been prevented. We are Americans. We have the technology. We have the sources. We have the means to stopping something unless we are dumbfounded and want to just let it ride out. The towers, that could have been prevented. COVID could have been prevented. But it seems like the more and more we allow other countries to interfere and get in, a lot of harm is being caused. And by this president saying, I want to build a wall, understandable, but you don't want to shut out the right people. There's a way of doing that. There is a perfect way of doing that, And taking things for granted is what Trump did. He did take a lot of things for granted in the U.S. Most of it was to cover up for all the things he did. But I do say he did some great things. And I am a Democrat, born Democrat, but I do want Trump to be president throughout the 4 years left. Because he started something and he has to finish his job. So, all in all, when you think about it, when you're listening to this, it kind of makes you think, really, where do we stand as Americans? Why are we letting so much stuff slide? Sometimes it's okay to, but then when it comes to a president being a president, he's supposed to stand for us. Now, a lot of people are trying to figure out a lot of things. COVID isn't going to go away anytime soon. And it's going to get a lot worse if things don't get a lot better. The way I see it is they did something really, really good when they did the stimulus thing. It did help a lot of people. It's not something that's going to constantly go on. Now, throughout each presidential, as a president, They're only allowed 4 stimulus packages to be set out. As a president, if you are in the 8 full terms, you are only allowed to put out 4, if necessary, to the economy, to reboost the economy. Because of if there are a lot of jobs shutting down, a lot of people going homeless, and a lot of people that are losing so much, then it is up to the president, up to Congress, Senate, to realize, okay, there has to be another one put out. There can only be 4 put out during any president. Now, if they don't get put out, the next president can put them out in his term. But only if the economy is suffering, in which the economy is suffering due to COVID. This is a pandemic. And throughout any pandemic, there is always going to be a relief to the American people. It is something that lets them have a sense of, I don't have to worry about if I'm going to be kicked out or where I'm going to get my next meal because I don't have money. And then slowly, not pushing forward, but slowly taking steps to putting them back into school. By putting them into school right away, you already seen what the outcome was. I do approve of the online school. I approve of it so well. I mean, because you get to work at your own pace. You, in a true student, one that is really into wanting to make it, will show that that's what they're doing. Now, when you start to put them back into the classes, it's not okay, because the pandemic's not over. And all you're going to do is spread it worse. And that's not what we need. Now, right now, a lot of us haven't heard nothing about North Korea. We haven't heard anything about Russia. Anything about China. For the simple fact is, it's called a hush-hush deal. And this is what Trump does. It's a hush-hush deal. Now, a lot of what Trump does, and this is a known fact, and Trump knows this through a lot of research that I've done, Trump loves his towers. Trump loves to build his towers. Trump loves to have his towers built in other countries, just as he tried to do the talks with the Middle East about his towers. And China won't deny the talks with Trump wanting to do more towers there. Russia won't deny the talks. This is something that he wanted. It was not for political gain, but to have more money coming in to him. Now, the political game was, let the people riot, let them fall short, and then he steps in, to throw other people off. He steps in and says, I want this done, let's do this, and then people will be for him. It's not all about being for anyone. It's about picking the right person to maintain our country. Now, either way it goes, Trump or Biden, we're still going to have to face a lot of consequences along the way. And the next president after Trump or Biden is going to fix it. Trust me, is going to fix it. The next president is going to be way more qualified. Is going to talk more specific on the things that the U.S. needs and needs to be done. Is going to talk about health, fixing it, making sure everybody has the right equality that they need in life. These 2 presidents, I've not seen Trump do as much as He said he would in the beginning. Because a lot of it, and a lot of you know, there were a lot of lies that have occurred. You know, he'll say one thing and then he'll deny it the next minute. He'll say it's going to happen this time, but it never happened. So, all in all, people want someone that's going to stand with the U.S., someone that's going to say, hey, it's time to put us back.